Maddie, a book editor, is in the bathroom at her partner's book release party doing a little touch-up while on a phone call with her mom, who tells Maddie that she really needs to get the confidence to make a move on Paul, who's the one who writes the books that Maddie edits. But she says that she doesn't need to, as Paul told her that they need to talk about something very serious, and she believes he'll be making a move on her. Maddie's best friends Emma and Heather are also at the book release party. Paul and Maddie finally talk, and in her mind Maddie's thinking that Paul's going to ask her out, but instead he asks her if she'd be willing to work with her on his next book, and she's crushed. We're brought to a few months into the future where Maddie's at the Ireland airport as Paul and her best friends, Emma, are getting married. She fights with a man over what she thinks is her suitcase, but it's actually not hers. The next day, they decide to have a picnic at a nearby lake, and before they start the picnic, they decide to go on the lake, but Maddie tells them that she's actually going to take a walk and they should go without her. While on her walk, she stumbles upon a big beautiful pink blossom tree with a stone chair, and she sits down to talk to her mom. She tells her mom that she's happy for Emma but is saddened as she liked him first. Then she says that it's not like she can even wish that she was the one marrying Paul. Then as she says those words, her phone turns off and a woman appears right behind her. She tells Maddie to try and wish again, but this time with more feeling. Then Maddie says that she's good because she doesn't believe in magic and wishes. Then the lady tells her to just give it a try, as she won't be losing anything by wishing. Maddie wishes that she were marrying Paul instead of Emma. Then the wind and the tree leaves start blowing in her face, and she gets knocked down into her bed and wakes up wearing her gown, and she's confused. Maddie confides in Heather about waking up suddenly while she remembers being at the lake, and her suitcase being inside her room, confused knowing very well that the airport lost her luggage, and Paul being in her room taking a shower. Heather is not shocked at all about what Maddie tells her is happening. Maddie tells Heather that she found a wedding dress inside her bag as well, and Heather tells her that obviously there's a wedding dress, because she's marrying Paul. Maddie accepts that the wish she made has become her reality, and she goes on a bike ride with Paul and also goes wedding dress fitting with Heather, Emma, and Paul's mom. While at the dress fitting, she spots the woman that granted her this wish, and she runs after as she's trying to talk to her, but obviously she's much faster than Maddie. Maddie runs and falls into a random man's car, and she realizes while in his lap that it's the same guy she was fighting over a suitcase with, and his name's James. Emma, Heather, and Paul's mom follow her outside, and when Paul's mom sees James's camera, she realizes that he's a photographer. And it's a great coincidence, as the original photographer won't be able to come. So Paul's mom hires him on the spot, but he first refuses as he doesn't photograph humans, so she triples his pay and he agrees. Maddie and James go to one of Maddie's favorite islands, Cliffs of Moher, so that James can photograph her. Paul was supposed to go with them, but he didn't, as Maddie was shocked to see him in her bathroom and punched him, so he's staying home to nurse his injury. Maddie tells James that she'd love to get married at the Cliffs of Moher but can't, as everything's already been planned out. The weather does a complete 180, and on their way home, they find a big tree has fell on the road, meaning that they can't go back home. James and Maddie head to a nearby motel, and Maddie leaves a message for Paul to tell him that they're stuck and won't be able to come back home. Maddie and Paul play darts together, and Paul shows Maddie how to hit the bullseye, and they get extremely close to each other and they almost kiss, but Maddie stops it by reminding James that she's getting married in 2 days. Meanwhile, back in America, Maddie's mom is in the airport trying to get another flight as she's missed her original first flight because she overslept. When she gets to the airport, an old student, Allegra, immediately recognizes her. Maddie's mom takes this to her advantage and pretends to remember her so that she can help get her another flight as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Maddie and James are dancing together in the Irish motel, even though she never dances with anyone. After a night at the motel, they get ready to leave to go back home, but James's car is unable to start, so Maddie and James push the car while James's friend turn it on from the driver's side, and it does end up starting and they're able to go back home. The family gathers for a family lunch. Then Paul's brother, Corey, asks the engaged couple to play a game about questions to see how well they know each other. And he asks them about the day that Paul proposed to her, and she's absolutely blank and starts repeating the same words over and over. Then Paul comes to the rescue and reveals to everyone that it was actually Maddie who proposed to him on his birthday in Brooklyn. Maddie is visibly disappointed and surprised that she's the one who proposed to him and not the other way around, because it clearly proves to her that he probably didn't even like her, because if he really liked her, he would have been the one to propose to her. James then talks to her on the side, and he confronts her about how they actually don't know each other at all, as they both couldn't answer any questions about the other, which proved to everyone at the table that they aren't really intertwined. He also says that if it was him instead of Paul, he would have been the one proposing instead of waiting for her to do it first. Paul leaves, and later we see him looking at the pictures he took of Maddie while they were at Cliffs of Moher. Then while Maddie's in her room, she spots Emma and Paul outside her bedroom window, and it seems even in this life, they still have serious feelings for each other. It's finally Maddie and Paul's wedding day, and the guest list is the who's who of the world, with a bunch of wealthy people with the most expensive cars as well. Before she goes down the aisle, Maddie opens up to the pastor that she made a wish to St. Bridget to be the one marrying Paul, but he doesn't really quite get exactly what she's trying to say, but he does say that St. Bridget has a habit of not giving you exactly what you want, but giving you what you need. Emma comes into Maddie's room to see her before she goes down the aisle, and Maddie apologizes to Emma, but she doesn't understand what Maddie's apologizing for. And she says she's sorry about Emma and Paul, and that she knows Emma and Paul have feelings for each other, and she's visibly stuck like she's been caught in a lie. Maddie tells her that she knows they have feelings for each other, and how she saw them last night at the patio outside her bedroom window. Then Emma says that she's not trying to hurt Maddie's feelings, but somehow she's felt as though her and Paul were always meant to be ever since they met, and she truly believes wholeheartedly that in some lifetime she and the Paul are soulmates and are together. Maddie tells Emma that she's going to make things right. She goes out without wearing her wedding dress, and tells everyone that she will not be getting married today, and she tells them that if you're going to commit to something as huge and life-changing as marriage, you should do it with someone you love, you know, through in and throughout, or someone you find, or even someone who finds you instead. James and Paul ending up in a physical altercation with each other. James apologizes to Maddie as he believes that he may be the reason she's doubting her relationship and love for Paul, and that's why she's canceling her wedding. But she reassures him that it's not his fault, and she kisses him, but unfortunately he says that he really wants to be with Maddie, just not after everything that's happened, and he leaves. Maddie goes back to where it all began, the pink blossom tree, and tells St. Bridget that she'd like to unwish her and wish. But St. Bridget says that it's not possible to undo a wish, but she doesn't take no for an answer and continues to try to undo the wish. And fortunately she does succeed, and all the things that have happened after the wish play in her mind. And she's suddenly in her room, hair drying her hair, and it's very clear that she's back to her real life. Emma and Paul officially get married to each other, and after the service, Paul asks Maddie to start writing a new book, as he'll too busy on his honeymoon. Then Maddie says that her answer totally depends on if she'll be getting co-writing credit. And Paul says that it's not how it works. She writes the books, and the popularity around his name sells the books, and that's why they work so well together. She decides to leave the wedding to go write her own story, and she ends up at the bar where James is currently renting a room upstairs, but she's told that he just left the building that minute and she's just missed him. She finds him sitting outside on a bench, and she approaches him, and he immediately remembers her as the girl who tried stealing her suitcase at the airport. She finds out that St. Bridget actually approached James and told him to stay a little longer in Ireland, which works perfectly well with the fact that Maddie has decided to also stay a little longer as she begins writing her very own book for the first time, and she asks him if he'll be her photographer for her book, and tells him that she'd love to visit her favorite island, Cliffs of Moher, as she knows that it's James's favorite island as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Irish Wish. Thanks for watching.